You don't feel like you have agency necessarily always when you hear headlines out in the world or you see things happening on a bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
What is really empowering is being able to make those individual choices, take agency in those choices, make them, and kind of see the impact. I mean, we can see the impact on our financial statements, on our bill. I can do a case study on all the appliances that I've replaced and what it will future be after the HVAC and see the amount of gas we stopped using, know the health benefits for now both of our sons and the two of us.
Welcome to Home Green Homes, the podcast about affordable, resilient, and sustainable homes. I am Izumi Tanaka. I am a green realtor, home advisor, and eco-flipping enthusiast. On this show, I talk with green building professionals, architects, energy experts, and homeowners who are rethinking what homes can be. Healthier, more energy efficient, and future ready. Whether you are a homeowner, home buyer, investor, or real estate professionals, this podcast is here to help you understand how better homes can save money, reduce emission, and add real value. Let's get into our conversation. Hi everyone. Today I have Nick Grimm. He is somebody who found me on my podcast a few years ago, and we have been talking to each other since then. And Nick is a former executive in entertainment industry, and now he is thriving in the sustainability field. But more importantly, he is a father and homeowner. So I just wanted to hear his experience of transforming his home into something that is more sustainable. Thank you so much, Nick, for your time today. First of all, Nick, let's hear your brief background of who you are. I know you're a father. I know you are also a homeowner, and you worked in the film industry as an executive producer. So tell us your story.
Thanks, Izumi. I appreciate you having me on. Yes, all of that is true. I was an executive in the entertainment industry for a long time. Uh, and then right before COVID, we had our first son, and I was laid off from my last position. And right at the start of COVID, right at the start of having a kid, kind of found myself at home at the beginning of this, everything that was happening in the world. And then shortly thereafter, like many people in the world, decided it was a great time to buy our first home, which we had never done before. We were first time home owners, so we didn't know what we didn't know. We were just doing it based on needing space for our new family. And so we jumped into that, and it was exciting, and we ended up with a great house here in Los Angeles, like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And at the time, I hadn't fully started thinking about sustainability. I was still very much in the entertainment industry headspace, but quickly becoming a homeowner, you start creating these lists of things that need to be fixed and replaced, and that natural process. By just coming into a home built in 1953. And as I'm sure you know, here in Los Angeles, 1953, news to me and my wife, no insulation, lots of single pane windows, just kind of was what it was based on where the world was, what, climate and everything was at the time. And it made sense. Yeah, so very quickly, as soon as we moved in, just home projects happen, and having a baby in front of us, and slowly I'd been thinking about materials and things like that, just what are the right materials to have. But really it was focused on for my family, for having a baby in the environment, like what are the right things to have. Yeah, so it kind of started there, and simultaneously I started transitioning my career from as an entertainment executive to what I really want to be spending my time on, and realized climate change was something that seemed like something I could dedicate my time to, but I didn't know what it was. Sustainability became a thing that I could translate into an actual job. So both these things were happening simultaneously. Being a homeowner while exploring and understanding climate sustainability. So I was very much learning it big picture while trying to practice it as a new homeowner, father, husband, all at the same time. So very much learning as I was going.
Thank you, Nick, for telling me that little story. But when you first bought the house, obviously you didn't know about all the elements of your home. And what made you become more aware, other than I know that you said there were a lot of projects to do, but what triggered you to think about the sustainability elements or the health and comfort factors in your home?
Yeah, a little bit of trial and error while also, as I mentioned, I was on this sustainability journey education wise. So when I'm learning that stuff, I'm thinking about systems change through a systems lens. So what does that mean? Practically, it means if I need to replace these windows, or let's see, stove needs to be replaced, or my dryer goes out as a homeowner, it's hard to only think about it as just replacing the one thing for the one thing. What I was learning in school was also teaching me, but how is that connected to the rest of it? And so then you're very quickly, well, am I going to replace my dryer with another gas dryer? And that doesn't, what are my other options? And then you see your other options, and then you see how that connects into everything else. Everything was connected essentially. I'd make one on an appliance and it connected to everything else.
That's right. So, how long have you had this house so far since the COVID? So, what, 5 or 6 years?
We moved in 21. We started house hunting in 2020 and purchased it and moved in 2021. As first time homebuyers, we didn't know, we knew nothing, and we just absolutely lucked out with interest rates, despite it being very, very competitive. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what have you done so far in the last 6 years to your home? What are the things that you've implemented?
So we did our dryer, our late 1990s dryer
Hmm.
went out on us. So we replaced the dryer and the washing machine with an all-in-one heat pump washer and dryer. We replaced our 6 burner gas cooktop with an Samsung induction cooktop.
Hmm.
We've replaced our dishwasher. We're in process right now of replacing our 1996 Whirlpool refrigerator, which I will say is knock wood, still as of today, still plugging along. We'll be replacing that soon. And then after that, um, it'll be our hot water heater and our HVAC. And then this isn't a replacement, but we have also bought an EV and
Mm.
installed an EV charger. And we did have to replace the roof on the house, which was an original
Mhm.
cedar shake shingle roof, and had to put on a new roof with new plywood underneath. And then once that was on, we installed solar. So we have a full solar array that accounts for 100% of our electricity use.
Wow. But it sounds like you didn't take on all these projects all at once, and instead you went one by one. Like when something needed to be replaced, you need replaced with the ones that are electric and more efficient, correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. As the new homeowner, it was very much replacing what needed to be replaced, doing it individually. And that's part of what we've really learned in the process is if we had the opportunity, we'd look at it more holistically and not do it one on one. But that's not realistic for most homeowners. Most homeowners are doing it as a replacement, not as a holistic process. But so the options were out there for us to do it one on one,
Hmm.
but we definitely now at this point keep in mind the one on one replacement option,
Right, right.
how that affects the bigger picture.
So were you able to utilize any of the financial incentives out there, especially the now pretty much defunct IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, rebates and tax credits? Um, I think you said 2020, 21, so the IRA didn't really come about till almost 23. So were there enough rebates and things that were available for you? Maybe not just federal, but state and local level?
Yes, everything we've done, we've been able to utilize rebates, luckily, and
Mm-hmm.
that's been
Mm-hmm.
a huge part of being able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we actually, if I remember correctly, I think we lined up the installation of our roof and solar install to the point, like had it all prepped and ready until the credits came into play, became available, and then had it done. And yeah, I mean, we got 30% off of our solar array, which made it much more financially doable. And I should have mentioned too, by doing our solar, we also replaced upgraded our electric panel. And so we got rebates on our electric panel. We got rebates on solar. We got rebates on installing our EV charger, rebates on our washer dryer replacement for the all-in-one. The appliances, I believe, were all local, whether, if I remember correctly, either LADWP, I know definitely it was one of them, but the bigger ticket items like the roof or the solar was the inflation reduction, federal.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So tell me how your experience was in terms of processing those rebates and tax. Based on my own experience and people I know, it is extremely hard to navigate that process of actually getting the rebates done or even finding the right appliances that is eligible for those incentives. What was your experience like?
A challenge. Even a real challenge, even for somebody who, up to some of the latest ones, fully versed in sustainability and
Mhm,
understanding the logic behind a lot of it,
mhm,
it was still a real challenge.
mhm,
I mean, once I discovered, once you do one or two,
mhm.
it becomes a little bit easier. But it took a lot of effort, took a lot of research and understanding.
Right, right.
There's layers to the incentives,
Mhm,
meaning you can layer
mhm,
on the incentives so you can get both state and federal for some of the
mhm.
same stuff.
Right.
And so it's understanding that. I have found myself trying to translate a lot of it for friends and family and neighbors and stuff
Mhm, mhm.
after having gone through it. And I did the same. If I heard somebody had done what I wanted to do, I had to ask, even feeling like I was first in it.
Right, right. So you said you have a solar panel right now. Coming up next are water heater and HVAC. So you still have gas,
I do. For those two appliances, I still have a gas hot water heater and a gas HVAC. Yeah.
but eventually you are going to replace them with electric ones. And will you still be net zero with your power you're generating?
I guess we could say that we are. I mean, I'm always on the cautious side of net zero. I think I
Mhm.
will feel comfortable saying net zero if and when we go the route of having a battery.
Right.
Because for me, at night, we're
Yeah.
generating during the day, and on
Mm-hmm.
the balance sheet, we are selling
Right.
back to the grid more.
Right.
I will feel confident in saying we're net zero if we are able to put that extra
Mm-hmm.
generation into a
Mm-hmm.
battery and then use that to pull from. Then we really, but yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be it. Those two last appliances. Yeah.
So that would be your plan overall. And I think you talked about your landscaping as well. Don't you have a
Yes,
vision for that? Tell me about that.
I do. Like all these things, the list never gets shorter, it only gets longer. But, you know, the previous homeowners, they created a beautiful landscape and it's a different time and a lot of it takes a lot of watering
Mm-hmm.
and being cautious and aware of drought conditions that we're in. Yes, our goal is to essentially go through our whole landscape and replace everything that's not native with native, replace our grass with native grass. And so for us, that not only reduces water need for watering, but more importantly, it's biodiversity.
Yeah.
So, we can actually keep the traditional landscape that we have, the look and the feel and the
Mm-hmm.
decorative elements, but
Mm-hmm.
just replace it with options that are compatible with the area, that use much less water and that
Yeah.
bring back a lot more biodiversity,
Yeah.
and beneficial in that sense. So, yes,
So the kids can go out and still play outside,
totally.
right?
Our backyard has big lawn, grass, and we'll just I make it sound more simple than I'm sure it will be, but we will replace the very water thirsty grass that's currently
Mm-hmm.
there
Right.
with a native version,
Right.
um, that lives on the rainfall and will be started with regular water, but will essentially
Yeah.
live on
Yeah.
the rainfall
It'll
we get.
probably take a year or so to establish before you don't need to
Yeah.
water. Oh, by the way, congratulations for your second baby.
Yes, thank you. It's three
So,
months, so
yeah.
we're very in
Yeah,
it.
it must be handful right now. But as a father, what is your vision for your kids? Like what I know that when you first bought this house, you didn't know much about what the home does to us as to a human body and all the sentient beings. And how was it for you to actually realize what you needed to do for the sake of your children?
Yeah, it was a big element, and we weren't just replacing our appliances because they were getting old
Hmm.
or needed replacing, but I love cooking. I cook dinner most often. A few years ago, our son at the time, he had environmental asthma that a lot of is common with a lot of kids, but in particular, especially in big cities, urban areas, air quality is important in that situation. And I had a air quality meter. I forget what it was. There was maybe it was fires. There was something that prompted me to get it, part of my education as well,
Hmm.
just to be aware.
Hmm.
And I was making dinner one night, and you know, the windows were actually closed, and I hadn't yet turned the ventilation fan on, but we had a 6 burner cooktop, and I was using probably two, and it was just like I was about to reach for the fan, I was about to open the window, but before I did, I turned the air quality monitor on, checked it, and it was like in the red. It was very like, just based on cooking a normal dinner. I turned the circulation fan on, and it dropped down. I forget the numbers exactly, but it dropped down, but it was still not great. Then I opened both windows on opposite ends of the kitchen to get a draft going through. Then it came down to a highish regular range. I'm forgetting off the top of
Yeah.
my head what it was, but that
Yeah.
was a kind of a aha moment. And my son had just gone to the doctor, and they said he had environmental asthma, and just do all the things you need to do to help that scenario.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it just occurred to me, it was like, oh, well, I'm cooking dinner every night.
Yeah.
Um, this is one of those things. And so just accelerated the replacement of 6 burners,
Hmm.
gas burners in our
Hmm.
house, even with the fan on, even with the windows open, like you're still lighting gas on fire
Yeah. Yeah.
inside your house. And you don't really think about it. You're just trying to make dinner
Yeah.
for your family.
Yeah.
So it was an option I could make,
Hmm.
and it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Once you get over the financial part of why I had to replace an appliance, but if I'm going to do that anyways, I'm doing that anyways. So I'm just going to make the healthy option. So,
I'm so glad to hear that, Nick. So as somebody who loves to cook, when you
yeah,
switch from gas burner to induction, I know that a lot of people have resistance to switching from gas to induction or even electric. How is that for you? Do you like it cooking on it?
don't have any hesitation. I love it.
That's good.
I thought it was going to be a thing. I had always I think I, like a lot of cooks, probably associate the height of the flame with how hot it is.
Right.
It's just a way of like knowing how hot your pan is without actually having to feel it. And
Yeah, it's visual.
it's very visual. There's also an
Uh-huh.
audible element to it. We don't realize how ingrained that is in our
Yeah,
process. Cut to, I've now been doing it for a couple of years now, and I'd never look back. You don't, after you get used to it, you don't really, I mean, you have to get used to it, but yeah, it's a non-issue now.
right.
I still
Now,
love cooking.
most importantly, did your son's asthma improve after you've switched from gas stove?
So it's not the one and only issue. It's just,
Mm,
it's one piece on a whole spectrum of things
I
that
see.
add to it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we live in Los Angeles. The air quality in general is not great, and there's
That's
many things that add to that. But it was one of the big ones within our house that we had control over. So it's just removing that off the table, knowing that that was an option we could, you know,
mm-hmm.
a choice that we could make. But I will say, yes, whether he's grown out of it or not sure how the doctors refer to it, maybe grown out of it, but essentially it's less of an issue now. He has gone through many medications, he's gone through a procedure for it and things like that, but it's less of an issue now. But specifically, we know that that's not going to be a part of it. So that's helpful. And honestly, for us too, like, yes, our 6-year-old son, but honestly, for my wife and I, it's equally not as good
Right,
for us as well.
right.
Yeah.
That's great. So,
Yeah.
Nick, what are you most proud of out of all the things not necessarily just around your house, but what you are proud of as a conscious citizen of this planet?
Yeah. I'm most proud that, I guess, of being able to take the action that I have
Mm,
control over. It's really hard, and sometimes you don't feel like you have agency necessarily always when you hear headlines out in the world or you see
mm-hmm.
things happening on a bigger picture. What is really empowering and is being able to make those individual choices,
Yeah,
take agency in those choices, make them, um, and kind of see the impact. I mean, we can see the impact on our financial statements, on our
yeah,
bills, on I can run scenario case. I can do a case study on all the appliances that I've replaced and what it will future be after the HVAC and the water heater, and see the amount of gas we stopped using,
mm-hmm.
know the health benefits for now both of our sons and the
Mm-hmm.
two of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of all around. So
Yeah,
it's a great feeling. It's also very quickly paired with what else can I do? So you celebrate the wins, you feel good about it, but then you're very quickly identifying all the other
yeah,
places where you
yeah.
can. So it's being okay with the wins.
Well, so at the same time, then, what do you find most challenging for you to stay in integrity of your own value in terms of living every day in this climate?
Yeah. It's a good question because that is a big part of it. I know people who are aware of sustainability, climate, and these things live and wrestle with this complexity related to a cognitive dissonance, like what you're living versus what's happening. Having agency is great. The biggest hurdle, though, is knowing what needs to be done and sometimes feeling very limited in our ability to make the level of impact that we know needs to happen and that we can do. And for me, where I sit, that comes down to the financial element. Appliances cost money, We can't doing it realistically as a homeowner, as a father, as, I would say kind of any average person in the world. People can't just go replace all their appliances in their house, despite how bad it's needed. And to me, that's frustrating. It's realistic, but it's frustrating. So figuring out that component and
Yeah.
handling that appropriately is a real challenge.
Yeah, I agree. But you did mention that you were part of a group on Facebook where fathers are exchanging information, and people are asking you for guidance or advice. Tell me about that. I find it fascinating because I'm sure that moms exchange information like that, but
Yeah,
I'm so encouraged to hear that father like yourself with young children are really thinking about what's better for us, including our kids.
yeah. It's called Dad Town, and I was just invited in by a friend who, through my process, this friend, he's also a father, asks
Hmm.
advice, and we're back and forth on, he recommended the solar to me. I've recommended EV charging to him, and we're kind of back and forth like that. He joined
Mm,
this group as when he became a dad. And that's exactly what it is. It's dads all over LA who share insight into everything from parenting to who do you use for a plumber? Who do you
I see.
use? So it's a bit dad, bit homeowner.
I see.
And so he had just reached out to me and said, "Hey, look, everything that you just went through, one, you're a dad, you're now a second dad. And two, there's you have this knowledge and sustainability and
Hmm.
doing this stuff with your house. You should join this group because there's a lot of dads on there asking for the better solution for everything that I've gone through. It seems to be that there's a lot of people out there looking for guidance and perspective on if I'm going to replace X, what's the better solution for my family, for the climate, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Mm,
yeah, I haven't dug into it fully yet, but I'm excited to have joined and be able to help and share my experience and the expertise I've garnered
yeah,
over the years with others, because that's really what we need is we need the combined effort
right.
from everybody. Yeah.
I agree. So now, what if you had a magic wand and change something like that? What would that be?
Yeah, I think it would probably it's not as crazy exciting, but I do think that financial lever is, I guess it's hand in hand. It's the financial lever to get in, right?
Hmm.
Because while the incentives are great, that's usually a percentage off a total. Any majority of Americans, families, whoever, homeowners out there, while that's great, there's still a big upfront financial barrier. So, and especially for, we're very privileged being semi middle class. And so for anybody who's not there, like it's just not even on, you know, it's not even a financial option. So it's kind of that, like the mechanism needs to be different. While the incentives are great, the mechanism needs to be different entirely. And then just as equal, I think, with that is education, knowledge.
Yeah,
Like that's almost just as difficult. I went through such a challenge, even feeling like I'm very versed in this. So I use my brother as an example. It's like he's not as versed as I am, but he's a homeowner and he's a father. And a lot of times
mm,
he will just ask me, like, what should I be buying? And it's like, so I a lot of times try to think from his perspective, like what's going to help him know what the right decision is, what's going to allow him to make the financial decision. And for people who this might not even be on their radar, like how do they become aware? Like how do they become aware that burning gas in your cooktop and all your appliances in your house is not great for your health? It's also not helping the environment and that there's better
right.
options out there. So
Yeah.
that level of knowledge, it's a huge barrier for so much of this. Huge. So I'm going to have to say I need two magic wands.
Okay. That's great. Well, I agree with you 100%. And I think you are doing great service to your friends, who ask you, but I think like you said, a challenge for both you and me is to to let people know that there are better options. If we can increase the demand of those things, hopefully prices will come down and become more available. But we have a long way to go. But I really appreciate all the really hard work in terms of finding the right options for yourself and your family and being willing to share that knowledge and experience with your friends. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Izumi. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we are recording this on the auspicious day of Chinese New Year. So let's hope that we would have a wonderful fire horse is going to transform our life into a more sustainable world.
Amazing. Thank you, Izumi.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you for listening to Home Green Homes. If you found this episode useful, please subscribe and leave a review or share it with someone who cares about better homes and better future. I'm Izumi Tanaka, and until next time, here's to creating homes that are healthier, more resilient, and truly future ready.